Hi, my name is Gavin F. Haley with the Apex Guitar Institute. Today we're going to be looking at the correct way to practice. So when it comes to goal setting, there's always kind of a main rule that a lot of people follow, and I subscribe to it myself. Find the end goal and then work backwards, because it's easier to find the steps that you need to take whenever you know precisely where you're trying to end up. So what is the end goal of practice specifically? My definition is that it's trying to get whatever skill you happen to be working on to the point of automation, where it's something that you no longer have to think about. Then you can dedicate all that freed brain power to working on something else in conjunction, knowing that the things that you hit previously are already solidified for the most part. So then, how do we get whatever we're working on to that point of automation? Well, for this, we have to look at the sciences a little bit. Here's the key point. Let's say that there's something, can be anything, that you do every single day. What happens? Well, if you're doing it every single day, you're pretty much gonna get more efficient at whatever that thing is, or better, depending on the context. You see, your brain doesn't know the difference between doing something every day just for fun or to survive. All it sees is, this is something that we're doing every single day, I better figure out how to get pretty good at it. Energy conservation and all that. So with repetition, your brain is constantly taking notes. It's examining the muscles that you're using to do any particular task and working to build new neural connections and things like that to make those tasks easier. And that is the single secret to the automation. It's the consistency of the practice that forces your body to start adjusting to make these things easier. That's why it's so much more important. I would rather you practice 20 minutes, 5 days a week, something like that, than do 3 hours every 3 or 4 days. That would be more time overall, but you're not getting the consistency to kickstart these processes. Now, to how this looks in practice. You might be working on something for 3 or 4 days, and it feels like it's barely getting better, if at all. That's okay. What I've generally found to happen is that I'll work on something for those 3 or 4 days, go to sleep that night, and then when I wake up the next morning, everything just works better. I have a much simpler practice session. Why? Well, we know new neural connections and the like are built while you're sleeping. So it stands to reason that there's going to be a break, and between those practice sessions is when that improvement is going to happen. Now, this may be hard to imagine if you've never experienced it. This idea that you wake up one morning and everything is magically easier. But I can almost guarantee that it's something you've experienced before. Let's take riding a bike. If you're like me and you had to start with training wheels, then you'll know that those two end results, using training wheels and not, are basically completely different. You have to handle them in different ways. Once those training wheels come off, you've changed the entire environment. And if you're like me, you immediately fell over the first time that happened. Then after some repeated attempts, you get that first good run where you don't fall over anything, maybe at the end once you're trying to stop. But once it clicked, you probably didn't have any further issues with it. It swapped in an instant to you being proficient, well, not proficient, pretty all right at that thing. And the training wheels bring up an interesting point. You have to practice the way that you want to perform. And that means no shortcuts. The way that you practice is the way that you're going to play, because that's what you have learned to automate. Some simple examples. If you're doing a scale run, the farther away your fingers are from the fretboard, the more time it's going to take to hit each note. So what do you do when practicing? Well, you want to practice keeping your fingers as close to the fretboard as you possibly can. Now, if you've never focused on that specifically, you'll probably find that it is harder to play that scale that you may otherwise be good at. But the goal isn't to go fast, the goal is to practice accurately and then get that fast. It doesn't do you any good going fast if you're doing it incorrectly, and it introduces other problems that you then have to go back and solve. Or let's say that you're working on your open chords. Something that I see often is people beginning the chord with their index and then adding the other fingers afterwards. That's gonna slow you down. If you can accurately bring down every finger at the same time, that means it takes less time to get between the chords. So what do you do when you're practicing? You take it slow. Get your fingers ready, bring them all down at once, at whatever speed that you can maintain the accuracy. You might find again that it'll slow you down from what you're used to. But once you get comfortable with the new way of doing things, you'll be able to pass up whatever your previous max speed was because you're good at this new system, and the system itself is also more efficient. So be mindful whenever it's time to practice. If you can correctly identify the challenges that come along with whatever it is that you're looking at, and you practice in a way that includes working on them as well, it's gonna save you a lot of time and headache in the long run. So I hope this lesson is beneficial to you. Until next time, play loud, be heard, and I'll see you on the next one.